Hello, welcome to What the Flick. Christy, Matt, Alonzo, Ben, we're talking about what I think is one of the best movies of the year. Not everybody at this table agrees. It's called The Most Violent Year, the third film from J.C. Chandor. Please describe it to us, Matt Hatchett.
Yes, Most Violent Year is the story of a man who runs a waste disposal company in New York. Or I'm sorry, not a waste disposal company, an oil company, a heating oil company. But there are gangsters involved, just like waste disposal. He's trying to be legit. He's desperate to be legit. Nobody wants him to be. Let's watch the clip.
I run a fair and clean business, and I will fight till my last breath to prove that.
These are dangerous times, and we have to adapt. It's not like when we was driving.
There were more murders and rapes in this city last year than there have ever been. So if you've come to tell me that we have an urgent security issue here, trust me, I'm aware.
This can't continue. You're at war here.
It's been 2 years since you started investigating my industry. Do you have any idea who's been doing this to us?
Or you may be doing something to bring this on yourself.
I have always taken the path that is most right. The result is never in question for me.
When it feels scary to jump, that is exactly when you jump. Otherwise, you end up staying in the same place your whole life. And that I can't do.
I'm not sure he's desperate to be legit.
I think he's desperate to succeed.
I think he wants to still rise, and he is aspirational and striving, and he's bought this great house, and he has this wife, played by Jessica Chastain, who was great in this. I think he wants to have it both ways. I think he wants to create the perception of legitimacy, but still like dip his toe in the dirty water to stay on top and stay ahead.
I agree with Matt, basically. I think that there's a degree of legitimacy that he wants. You can't be totally legitimate. It's a tough, but he wants to take a lot of the nonsense out. A lot of the dangerous nonsense out, and he doesn't quite understand. As it seems like he would be the guy to deliver the speech. Why do we keep irritating the cops where they keep busting us open? Like there's a scenario here where nobody bothers us and we all just get rich. Let's just do that. Like it seems like he wants to modernize a crazy, stupid business that has relied on violence for too long.
It's like the low-stakes version of the Corleone family.
That's right.
Right?
Yeah, right.
Like,
but I think that what's fascinating about this is that it occupies this really murky, moral, gray area in that it doesn't judge him for his choices, or Jessica Chastain, who is his wife, who is like a great combination of Lady Macbeth and this Brooklyn mob princess. I think is some of the best.
She's also the accountant. She
runs the book. She knows everything.
I think he wants to have her brother and father are like made men.
Right.
And they sold him the business, right?
Yeah.
Is that what?
But I think he wants to have it both ways, and it doesn't judge him for going back and forth on his
It's sort of
decisions.
Godfather 3 Corleone, you know, where he's trying to
Right.
go legit. I agree with Christy. This is one of my favorite films of the year too. J.C. Chandor previously wrote and directed Margin Call and All Is Lost. So I think he's made 3 extraordinary films, all of which are completely different from each other in terms of tone and structure and how they're put together. This movie is very specifically set in the early 80s, like
1981.
Like 1981, like the early, like Reagan has just been sworn in, and it's that era of like women's blouses with the little limp bow tie thing, you know, and the fashions in this movie are so boxy, and the houses are so boxy, and there's something. This is a period I haven't seen in a lot of movies. I think they really capture it really well. But and then in addition to that, I loved how this is one of the few films I've ever seen where it's this sort of Sidney Lumet kind of drama, you know, about people in the city trying to get ahead, and then suddenly there's a fucking truck chase, and it seems so organic and so natural to the story, but at the same time so exciting and well done. Jessica Chastain is great. I think this is the best thing I've seen her in so far. Oscar Isaac from Inside Llewyn Davis is really good in this.
He's the star. He's terrific.
Yeah, he can do everything.
I just really, and he's in the next Star Wars movie, I think, right?
Yes.
I thought this movie was just fascinating, and
I'm with you on one of the best movies of the year.
Yeah.
And I don't even disagree with you about that. He's existing in some moral. There's definite moral ambiguity all over this movie, because he also even doesn't really judge the people who want to do it differently. He just wants to make sure he carves it out. He's not looking to change them particularly. But it's really good. His
Oh God, the old accountant with
Yeah.
the young daughter. I thought that was. I've never seen anybody like that in a movie before. I thought that was so interesting.
Albert Brooks is really
super
interesting in this. I don't know. I really, really, really dug this in every way. I thought it was I did not know how it was going to end. I thought there's every chance, and so you should go into it thinking, I don't know who's going to die. I don't know who comes out of this on top. It's also set with an important part 1981. I know you just want to talk about the fashion, but it was also like that's sort of the. Right, it had started in the 70s, but New York is violent and people don't feel safe. And part of this movie is just how to deal with just your trucks get hijacked. Like guys with guns come, and then you're like, and how do you deal with that? And do you fight back? And do you get a gun? It was really interesting to see a movie this committed to a real mature gun control debate. Like I don't. That's not the main idea of the movie, but it is a significant part.
Does escalating only make things worse?
Does escalating make things worse? Should the drive and like how
we see that question play out in a couple of different ways.
And how serious is it if the drivers carry guns and they're not really licensed and one gets used? Whereas now we're like, oh yeah, the driver had a gun. He shot. He killed one of the guys. Hey, they all had it coming. But here it's taken like. No. We don't want to do that.
Right,
I love
which is
that part.
kind of a throwback to Lumet, the way his movies were, right? I liked this movie and I enjoyed it. I didn't love it, and I think it's a good movie. I don't think it's great, and I think part of it is it didn't grab me emotionally. I was very intrigued by some of the questions it raised, and the idea of the kind of gun control aspect of it, and seeing a guy struggle with varying degrees of legitimacy. But I didn't feel emotionally taken in by it, and that's why. I mean, I still like this movie. I'm not as wild about it.
The relationship, didn't the husband and wife?
I wanted him to. I was on his side and rooting hard for him. I was with him.
But she's fascinating, though.
No, with him too. But it's unclear whether she's with him, like whether she's trustworthy for a lot of the movie, and whether she's really got his interest, or whether she just wants the nice house and
or is she
good school
sandbagging
for her
him?
kids.
I was interested in that. I wasn't at any point like, come on, man, I hope you pull it out. I was kind of curious, right? And this was one that, again, my interest was piqued, but I never felt like, oh God, I want this guy to succeed in the end.
Well, the tone of it is detached for a lot of it. You mentioned the great truck chase about 2/3 of the way through, but yeah, it is kind of quiet and kind of detached. It takes its time. Bradford Young shot this, who also shot Selma. Shot Middle of Nowhere, Ain't Them Body Saints. He's like young, up and coming cinematographer.
Oh, he did Ain't Them Body Saints.
Yes.
I hated that movie, but it looked great.
Yeah, but there's sort of like a haze over everything, and I think that contributes to the emotional detachment that results, and maybe that's part of why you didn't love it.
I think that detachment, I was too detached.
No, there's a chilliness, but I still found myself fascinated by it. It's also, speaking of Selma, David Oyelowo has a smaller role as an FBI agent.
In this movie.
Yes, and
there's an FBI agent as the. He's the
DA.
Yeah,
there's the scene where Jessica Chastain brings him a slice of birthday cake. Is one of the best sort of unspoken side-eye "fuck you" exchanges I've seen in a movie all year.
Yeah, no, it's a great supporting cast because part of the film is Oscar Isaac has to go around to all of his competitors and figure out who has it in for him, who's undermining him. Alessandro Nivola is one of them. He has a great scene with him by his indoor tennis court. It totally is 80s excellence.
And also can't leave his house.
What's that guy? Alexander Nivola, right? And Glenn Fleshler is in it. And that guy who was in Boardwalk Empire, really good, played Remus, and who referred to himself in the third person always, which was always good. And Remus doesn't play that way. But like these are guys who are, and you mentioned the father and daughter teen, like these are potentially his enemies and potentially super dangerous enemies, but they don't seem like dangerous enemies. Like that's what was like there was no mobbed up Italian guy. In fact, one of his enemies turns out to be we don't know, the guys at the bank who like have a tough decision to make too. Everybody here was humanized. And no stereotypical mob guys in any way. And then his scene where he confronts them is really, I thought, good stuff.
No, I would just having this conversation. I want to see this again. I like this movie so much.
And real quick, there's a great Jessica Chastain has a fantastic scene again. Back to guns, where her daughter finds a gun.
Oh shit! Yes.
Fuck, and like you've seen a lot of movies that that's a scene where we see where the wrong person picks up a gun. That was scary. That was really, really, really scary. And when she amps it up as any parent would, from you don't want to panic at first because you don't want them to panic. But then there comes a point when you have to panic, and it was really, I thought it was really good.
Right, so scores?
Numbers, I'm giving it a 9.4.
9.1.
7.5.
9.
So our average is an 8.8. It's at 95% in the tomato meter. This is a smart, solid movie. To borrow a phrase that you like a lot, it's for grown-ups.
It's super for
This is a film for grown-ups. So it opens on December 31st in limited release, and then will be wider eventually. So go find it. Most Violent Year. Bye.